Hi, I'm David Lang. I'm the composer of the opera The Loser.
My dear loser, Glenn greeted Wertheimer.
The Loser is based on a book of the same name by the Austrian writer Thomas Bernhardt. I read this book in the early 90s when the translation into English came out, and I was immediately struck by the main character of this novel.
I'm the survivor, now I'm alone, I thought. Since to tell the truth, they only had two people in my life who gave it any meaning. Glenn and Wertheimer. Now Glenn and Wertheimer are dead, and I have to come to terms with this fact.
The main character is a man, a wealthy man, older man, who, when he was young, had wanted to be a concert pianist. And he was good enough to be in the same master class as a student with Vladimir Horowitz teaching him. So he was at very high level, but he had the misfortune of being in the same class with the young Glenn Gould. And knowing that someone in his class would always be better than he was, destroyed him and destroyed the life of a friend of his. The book takes place right after this friend of his has committed suicide. And the main character in this kind of epic rant examines his life, his relationship to music, to art, to culture, his relationship to his friend, and measures his distance between the friend and Glenn Gould. It's like a running competition that lasted their entire lives and wrecked them.
Glenn died at the perfect moment, I thought. But Wertheimer didn't commit suicide at the perfect moment. Whoever commits suicide never commits suicide at the perfect moment, whereas a so-called natural death always occurs at the perfect moment.
What's interesting about this book is immediately, if you know anything about music, you know that everything about Glenn Gould is made up. It's completely not true about Glenn Gould. But there are some things about it which, for a musician, are not made up, which were some of the things that really resonated with me. And the most important one was the idea that you have to be at a very sophisticated level as a musician. You have to dedicate your whole life to study, to work, to self-criticism, to incredible effort before you are sophisticated enough to be able to ask yourself the question whether or not you will succeed. So you need to work and struggle and put in so much care before you will be at a level enough to realize whether or not it is worth it for you to pursue being a musician. And I think this is the fear in the background of every musician. It certainly isn't the fear behind my life.
Wertheimer and I, as far as our piano virtuosity, and in fact music generally were concerned, weren't killed by Horowitz, but by Glenn. I thought Glenn destroyed our piano virtuosity at a time when we still firmly believed in our piano virtuosity. Who knows, if I hadn't gone to Horowitz, whether I wouldn't be a piano virtuoso today, one of those famous ones.
I think other people might think about this as an opportunity to stage some of the events that this person talks about, because things do happen. But most of all, what I really loved was the voice, that this person's humor and intelligence and pain come out at you in this incredible rant. And I really wanted to preserve that in a piece of music. One of the other things that happens in the story is he tells this very beautiful anecdote about where he meets Glenn Gould. And it tells the story of him meeting Glenn Gould on top of a mountain. And it's the mountain where he had also gone several times imagining how great it would be to throw himself off the edge of the mountain and kill himself.
Strangely enough, I met Glenn on Monk's Mountain. My childhood mountain. Which is also called Suicide Mountain.
So I loved this idea that there's this mountain, that he looks over the precipice trying to decide, what do I do? What does a jump look like? What does it feel like? And I wanted to keep that in the opera as well. I'm not only the composer of this, I also adapted the original English translation into the libretto. So I took the beautiful English translation by Jack Dawson, and I cut the things which I thought were most interesting to me, which were most relevant to me, to my audience in New York, where the piece was premiered. And I'm also, in addition to being the composer and the adapter of the libretto, I also was the stage director of this. And one of the reasons why I was the stage director was because I had this image of the narrator over this mountain, and I wanted to recreate that. But also because I felt like this was so fragile that what happens here is really something that happens directly between the character and you. And I was really worried that if one had given this job to a real director with a real imagination, he or she might think of something spectacular to do, which would be amazing and it would be incredible. But for me, the thing that I really wanted to get out of this opera was I wanted to get the connection of this person singing to me. I wanted to theatricalize it just enough so that I would believe that this person giving this unbelievably personal and funny and devastating rant, that he would be talking just to me. And I didn't want anything else that would get in the way of that. And I thought the only way to do that was to direct it myself, and so I did. I really enjoyed working on this piece. It was produced by Bang on a Can, so we have an organization called Bang on a Can Opera, which produced this premiere. The set has been made by Jim Findley, an incredible designer. Most of all, the tour de force of this is it was sung by amazing American baritone Rod Gilfry. This is an unbelievable performance where he stands in front of us for 60 minutes and reveals himself completely with almost no musical accompaniment. That's the piece. So for Rod by himself, it is an unbelievably spectacular performance. And I'm really grateful to him for his musicality and commitment. That's the opera. I really hope you get a chance to see it. And if you do, I really hope you like it.